Hi, my name is Jake. Welcome back to the Culture Business. Today we're talking about normative control, which is part 2 in our control series. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, how cultures work in businesses and how organisations come together to get to the same goal, then make sure to like this video and subscribe so you get all the notifications about when we talk about this sort of thing. We're going to start with a brief history lesson about how normative control came around. It was sort of theorised mainly by a guy called Elton Mayo. And he realised that workers, although they are all coming together to form the same goal in a business, they're not cogs in the machine. They have emotions and they are subjected to human nature. And this really was the birth of modern day management, because it's a realisation that perhaps if you treat employees right, then they will work better, or they'll treat you right as well. If you're nice to other people, they're nice to you back. And then what Elton Mayo went on to do was a set of studies which are called the Hawthorne studies. And basically this tried to mark a correlation between the working conditions of employees and their productivity. So for example, he changed the room temperature, he changed the lighting conditions, and he changed people's abilities to pick the teams that they worked within, and measured how productivity increased or decreased throughout these set of variables. And he concluded that his theory was right. The better working conditions people had, generally the better they worked. Although this was a long time ago, between the 30s and 50s, there are a few core ideas that Elton Mayo and people inspired by his human resource theory, HRT, divulged, and that really are applicable to what we see in businesses today. Firstly, attention and consideration. Elton Mayo realised that simply by observing someone, paying attention to them, or just considering their thoughts, they were more productive. And in modern business, you can kind of see this happening, but there's a little bit of a toxic relationship between worker attention and micromanaging. There is no need to micromanage people because they're not a cog in a machine. They don't need supervision, because when something goes wrong, they know how to fix it. They can think for themselves. But what this is saying is you need to communicate with your staff and make them realise that their thoughts are being heard and that you are present and interested in what they are doing. Secondly, there's empowerment, which Elton Mayo realised that if people were given the power to choose their teams that they worked in or work freely amongst different colleagues, they were more productive. But really this extends to more than just team coordination. This is giving someone the opportunity to put their ideas into action and giving them the power to make decisions. This could be, as I said, from like choosing the people you work with, or even leaving 30 minutes early to go and pick up a child from school and arriving 30 minutes in the morning early to make up for that time. It's just being able to curate your own working experience. And thirdly is the opposite to scientific management theory, which is that people aren't mainly motivated by money. If you want to know more about this, and I'll leave a link to the scientific management video that we made a couple of weeks ago. But really, if people are motivated by more than just money in their job, that means letting people live a healthy life, giving them gym memberships, even just making it a decent coffee machine that people can take 5 minutes to go and make a coffee, or training that might make them better at their job, because this is a job that they want to feel fulfilled in. This is a job that they want to do well in. This is all something that may replace the high salary that was 70 to 100% increased in scientific management theory. There are, however, some positives and negatives to this theory. It's not all coffee machines and working together with people and having fun. Human relations rather than scientific relations are much harder to quantify, and this contributes to the fact that you may feel like you're losing control. There are certain areas of this theory that detract from your ability to run your business scientifically, which today the need to make profit and the need to prove yourself in pure figures leads to perhaps feeling like you're losing control. And this isn't the case. This is just a different form of control. This is a way that will generate different traits that your employees have and the products that you are putting out. For example, this creativity comes from informal groups, informal processes that may generate better ways of working together, better ways that your business can run. And this allows people to do what humans are made to do, which is just create. And that's why in normative control environments, creative job roles are more likely than putting a piece on a machine and that's it, that's your job done. So if you're running normative control correctly or want to begin running normative control, what can you expect to see from your business? Like scientific management, your employees are still expected to work that 9 to 5. That is the slot that you are allocated to do your job. And this doesn't change because you're still expected to have a work self and a normal self. The work-life balance still needs to be there. Because really, what is the difference between working and being at home? What is the work-life balance? It's the fact that while you're at work, you put on a facade and you perhaps do an activity that you wouldn't be likely to do while you're in your free time. And the change from working 9 to 5 to having flexible working hours and not necessarily having a work self and a life self is where we step up to neo-normative control, which we'll talk about in the weeks to come. Nevertheless, you'll find yourself having a more creative and more cooperative workforce, which will allow you to put out products that are perhaps more complicated. And Chester Bernard, which is a very prominent HRT theorist, coined a phrase which I'm sure you've heard before: the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, which really applies to normative control. Although these videos are short and just give you a brief overview of the topic, if you want to learn how these directly apply to your business, then email intheculturebusiness@gmail.com. And if you want a little bit of business information similar to the stuff we talk about on our YouTube videos every single day, then make sure to subscribe to Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, @theculturebiz on Twitter and @theculturebusiness on Facebook and Instagram.